Woo! English, 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 English. Sekgowa, 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 Sekgowa. Isilungu, 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 Isilungu. All right. Jeez. Um, Hi everybody. I thought I should share this. I had this thought lately. Oh yes, a bit of a disclaimer. First, I have to appreciate this platform first. YouTube. I think YouTube has given uh, some nerds like us an opportunity to actually voice out some other things or some other crazy ideas that we have in actually having to be relatable, given the fact that we always keep ourselves cocooned in our small cycles or small spaces. So I thought this platform, yeah, really, really, it has given us a way to voice out. So yeah, I'll try my best of English, Sekgowa, isiNgamla, to articulate this in the best way possible. So yeah, and again, I'll only speak on things that I'm more interested in or things that they kind of like, get my confidence oozing out there, or they kind of like get everything out there. Isn't it that they're pretty much interesting? Things that they excite me, the things that they keep me searching, things that they keep me curious, things that they keep me, oh, okay, what's next? So such things. And today, structure. Structure. Yeah. This has been something that has been on my mind for quite some time, up until now. And yeah, it's something that is interesting when you look at or you think about it. So, as I've said, disclaimer, I'll talk about things that interest me and some of the things that I think I need to share, my nerdish self inside needs to share with you guys. So as I've said, yeah, these platforms, these social platforms, they've leveled or created some ground levels for us as I'm a nerds. I'm a bit issue when they were labeled, oh, we geek when, all those other things. But hey, that doesn't matter. Back on structure. So structure and education. I would love to say I'm an advocate, a huge advocate for education. Yes, by profession, I'm a financial accountant. I've studied up until my honors level. For those of you who don't know, but there's something that has been interesting for me, something that has been pulling in me when it comes to education and structure throughout the years has been that thing. Or maybe in those past years, I didn't know, which, okay, this is actually structure. But as I grow old and as I grow wise and as I grow smart into understanding all these things, and I was like, oh, snap, this is structure. This is actually what is important when it comes to developing any sort of, legacy or any sort of izinto that will actually last for quite some time, especially in our societies and. So on education, as I said, um, so recently I've been working under this project. So I'm a project manager slash facilitator for this project. So we work with public schools, of course, Ikela Zekasi, and what we do, I won't dwell much because there's an NTA in place, but having to be involved in such places or in such environments, I've gotten to understand. Wait, man, the very same thing that we are struggling with while I was in high school or while I was back in primary, they're still happening till date. And I was like, why? Why is this continuing? Or why is this cycle always continuing? And certain thing or an epiphany clicked with, oh, I think it's structure actually. That is where everything else like lacks, especially when it comes to our communities or comes to our neighbors. The structure is not there. Kahle kahle. How everything is created or how everything is being structured, uh yeah, it's not lasting, so to say. So with my nerdish or my geek me inside, I was like, you know what, let me just study people that are really, really good at creating structures, or people that are really, really good at understanding this structure thing. And I've gotten fascinated by this gentleman Lobawa lo, Usizwe Nkasana. Usizwe Nkasana, one of the guys that currently he pivoted from corporate career or corporate life into education, into the educational space. And it's interesting when you when you study le Tamale Usizwe Nkosana. So previously he was an CEO. He was a CEO for a telecom group and a CEO for FNB group. And now, and this is where this thing gets interesting, especially having to um, having to be more interested in the structure of things. This is where it gets more interesting for me. Which, okay, if this guy, if this guy, and I know maybe this might come as a disrespect and I say this guy, but if Lobabalo was a group CEO for FNB or a group CEO for Telkom, and then now he pivots into the educational space, I mean, there's something there. And the strategist in me and the solution guy in me, I mean, like, yeah, some of you have met me before. Some of you who have engaged with me before, when we have engagement or we think we talking of something, I'll be like 2 or 3 steps forward, you know, trying to provide you some ways or trying to advise you on some ways on how to go about it, into cutting short or into formalizing a structured approach, so that every process or every system that is in place iyakusebenzela with ease. So back to the time, I was like, okay, if this guy pivots from the corporate life into the education life, or into the educational fraternity, there's something important, or there's something that I should, learn from that. And I think that goes for anyone for that matter, especially if you want to learn structure. Given the fact that, later Malay, let's just roll it back. I think I'm rushing things now. Let's just roll it back. So this guy founded Fex, if I'm not mistaken, but I stand to be corrected, founded the first black owned audit firm in South Africa. And yet gets more interesting even more. Uh, in that founding of that company, which is Sizwe Nsalube Gobondo, especially the last surname Gobondo. There's khona lo mama bambizwa Nonkululeko Gobodo, and Nonkululeko Gobodo is the first female to be a chartered accountant in South Africa. And you can pretty much guess now which kwenzakalani. These people, they've pretty much leveled up this so-called black excellency today, or these so-called structures on how to build businesses. And when these people, they pivot into the educational fraternity or into the educational space, I think it's of the utmost importance that the educational space or the educational spheres take these people in, and learn from them, given their expertise in the corporate field, or their expertise in their corporate careers. So yeah, and from that, it's something that it's interesting for me, given the fact that, I love to think that I'm a strategist. I love to think that I'm more of a solution driven guy. So, when you study these people, they've founded this first black owned company that, it bloomed, and it became what it is right now. And in that company, you have people that represent certain things, because as we know it by now, I think a lot of us understand it, or if not, with the representation, it's important, especially around certain communities. Hence, some communities apart from ours, they excel because they've understood the importance of representation. you know when you talk about Jews, they represent this, or when you talk about this other community Muslims, they represent that. So that representation, it's so much important. And I think these people that I've just mentioned right now, Umama, Nonkululeko Gobodo, Nosizwe Nkasana, I think, these guys have been trailblazers around the black excellency and their representation, so to say. So, you know, yeah, for me, it's quite interesting having to see that yenzagala ukuthi, a CEO, an FNB, a goddamn FNB group CEO pivots into the educational sector. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, come on. Why not try to learn something from that guy? Or why not try to find something more from that guy? Especially when it comes to structures, especially when it comes to systems, especially when it comes to implementation, it comes to processes. And yes, these words, they may sound similar, but there's a whole new game, or there's a whole new responsibility or accountability that goes into that. So really, really, if this gets to reach Upenuel, and I'll try to push this video forward with Upenuel. I so wish and I would love with Upenuel, the god, to have Letamalele in his show, to have Letamalele or host the Letamalele show, and just pretty much just share the light, or share uh, his thoughts on that show. Given the fact that you've been having some of the most interesting um, in interviewees, recently, where abantu they talk about certain structures, they talk about building and stuff like that. So I think that, in furtherance of that, in your show, I think it would be an honor to have Ubabu Sizwe Nkasana on your show, detailing how he structure izinto. Given that, we have an elephant in the room, and that elephant is, you know our education. Our education is a huge elephant in the room, that needs, strategists, that needs so many, and there's so many people that are contributing into that. But ubaba lona, just got me interested into, looking into, and, using him as a repertoire of all the structured thing that I have in my mind, and the representation that he has had in his professional life, and the fact that now he pivoted from corporate career into, the educational sector. So yeah. And again, khona nelinye Grootman as well. I know abantwana bakhe, they attend that school, and igela that Ubaba Usizwe Nxasana has founded. One of them is Future Nation Schools, and you must understand, like, yo, man, Future Nation Schools, which is FNS, Future Nation Schools. So those are some of the schools that Ubaba Usizwe Nxasana has founded, and and currently Lesuskela Loiso has three campuses, and you must understand ukuthi kwenzakalani lapha. We have to learn what is it that this old gent is trying to bring into the table. His experience, his love for the education, and his prowess actually into, being a catalyst into showing us structure into this educational fraternity, and what is needed in that structure as well. Yeah, boy. And another thing as well, that got me thinking into the making of this video, is the fact that, when you look at prep schools, I am a primary, like preparatory schools, the infrastructure, the educational, how can I put it, like the ball game, elapha, on prep schools, it's so much interesting. And I think that's what Ubaba Usizwe Nxasana is trying to bring And that's what Baba Sizwe Nkasana is trying to show, which there is a way. We can actually be those prep schools that cater for these and these communities, you know, or these prep schools that represent so much competency and merit in those, um, or in our community, as Black people and stuff like that. So, yes, I guess he learned from that, and I guess he learned from those structures, because again, this will need another video as well to talk about prep schools, the infrastructure, the financial muscle that goes into that. So yeah, I guess Babu Season Klasan had that to pretty much, get the ball running into teaching us the structure, teaching us the possibility of having a good structure around the educational system.